Good day everyone, I am Kizel May H. Mariera from BSTCM1D. Join me as we tackle about the Renaissance period. Introduction. The Renaissance, a cultural and intellectual movement that began in Italy during the 14th century and spread throughout Europe by the 16th century, heralded a dramatic transformation in the arts. This period, which means rebirth, was marked by a renewed interest in the classical traditions of ancient Greece and Rome, inspiring a revolution in painting, sculpture, and architecture. So the Renaissance means rebirth. It began in Italy in the 14th century, and then it spreaded in the Europe in the 16th century. So the Renaissance period is also it was also the inspiring revolution of painting, sculpture, and architecture. In painting, artists like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael pioneered the new techniques. So they have started this type of techniques such as the perspective, chiaroscuro, and sfumato, creating more realistic and human-centered works, emphasizing depth, light, and emotions. And then the sculpture flourished with figures that captured human beauty and anatomy, as seen in Donatello's Michelangelo's masterpiece, such as David and Pieta, highlighting the mastery of forms and the human figure. That is a sculpture. They highlight the human figure. And then the architecture, the Renaissance embraced classical elements like columns, arches, and domes. The groundbreaking works such as Brunelleschi's domes for the Florence Cathedral and Bramante's design for St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, reflecting harmonious blends of function and beauty.
My name is Christina, and I'm going to share my insights on the Renaissance, a period marked by artistic innovation and intellectual curiosity. Let's talk about the distinct periods of Renaissance art. Early Renaissance, around year 1400 to 1475. The early Renaissance marks the revival of classical ideals with a focus on perspective, anatomy, and naturalistic portrayals of the human figure. It emphasizes humanism and the study of ancient Greek and Roman art. So the key characteristics are revival of classical ideals, experimentation with perspective, focus on anatomy and naturalism, and then humanism. This period laid the groundwork for further developments in the Renaissance. High Renaissance, around year 1475 to 1520. The High Renaissance represents the pinnacle of Renaissance art, characterized by extraordinary artistic achievements and mastery of various techniques. So the key characteristics are mastery of perspective. Artists achieve perfect linear perspective, creating depth and realism. Realism idealization. Human figures were depicted with perfect proportions and in realistic forms. Classical harmony and naturalism, a balance between classical ideals of beauty and naturalistic details. This era reflects the culmination of Renaissance artists' endeavors for the exploration of human potential and beauty reach new heights. Late Renaissance, around year 1520 to 1600. The Late Renaissance, often referred to as the Mannerist period, marks a significant shift from the balanced harmony of the High Renaissance. So the key characteristics are emphasis on artificiality, departure from naturalism to more stylized and artificial expressions, elongated proportions, figures with exaggerated and elongated forms, complex compositions, use of intricate and often chaotic compositions, personal expression, greater focus on individual artistic expression and experimentation. This period showcases a distinct shift towards more personal and expressive styles, paving the way for future artistic movements. The last, Northern Renaissance, around year 1400 to 1600. The Northern Renaissance refers to the Renaissance art that developed outside Italy, notably in Flanders, France, Germany, and the Netherlands. And so the characteristics are detailed, realistic depictions, focus on meticulous detail and lifelike representations of everyday life and religious scenes. Emphasis on oil painting. Artists use oil paints to achieve rich, vibrant colors and fine details. Personal expression and experimentation. Greater focus on individual artistic styles and innovative techniques. This period showcases the unique and innovative contributions of Northern European artists to the broader Renaissance movement. Concludes our exploration of this fascinating era, a period of great artistic, scientific, and cultural revival, marking a turning point in human history.
Characteristic of Renaissance art. With the abbreviation fish park fur plants. The meaning of that is focus on the human body. It emphasizes on the human figures, often depicting dynamic poses with high degree of anatomy and accuracy. Example of this is Michelangelo's David. And the eye stands for the idealizations of human form. Figures were often idealized or made to represent a perfect beauty and harmony, inspired by classical ideas. S stands for symmetry and proportion, means balance. Balancing on what the other side has, the other side should have. Classical concept of harmony and balance were integral to the design of both visual and composition and architecture. Next, H stands for humanism. A focus on the human experience, celebrating the individual and that interest in classical antiquity, like Greek and Roman culture, philosophy, and methodology. And next, we have the park, P-A-R-C. P stands for portraiture. A rise in popularity of portrait painting often focus on individual personality and status. So this one focus on only a person. Portraying a person. Example given here is the Mona Lisa. And then here is the A stands for the architectural innovations. A return to classical forms such as columns, domes, and arches, as well as the development of the new architectural technique. Example given is the Brunelleschi's domes for Florence Cathedral. The columns are those the straight lines, and the columns are the straight lines, and then the arches are those that are above the columns. Example given is the Florence Cathedral. And then R stands for religious and mythological theme. While religion remained a major subject, artists began to depict classical methodology and circular subjects more frequently. So, this focus on religious or mga mythological themes, classical methodology. And then last is the chiaroscuro. It is the contrast between light and dark to create volume and depth in painting and sculpture. F means focus on individual artist. Artists gain recognition in independent creative geniuses rather than just anonymous craftsmen. So mga artists prefer nila nga mailhan sila nga sila ang naghimo silang mga art instead nga anonymous craftsmen lang sila. and leading to the glorification of the artist. Example here is Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael. So they prefer to be known na sila ang artist instead na anonymous lang. And then the use of oil paint. The development of oil painting allowed the greater detail. Masyado daw kuno ang mga detail, richer colors, and more subtle gradations of light shadow compared to tempera paint. So artists here, mas prefer nila ang oil paint kaysa sa tempera paint. Next is the realism and naturalism. Greater attention to accurate depiction of human form, anatomy, and proportion, often with focus on naturalistic light, shadow, and texture. Nakabase yun sa light, sa shadow, sa texture na make it more realistic o natural ang painting. That is realism and naturalism. Next is the clad. C means color and texture. Greater attention to the realistic depiction of color and texture. Example is fabric or skin. Fabrics na siya mga iba colors, like example po sa skin na kung na siya sa skin sa tao, atmospheric effects of painting muna siya ang makatreat pero realistic ay tungod sa iyang color o sa texture. The next is the linear perspective, the use of mathematical principle to create the illusion of depth in three-dimensional ay two-dimensional surface. So mas realistic jud kay tungod sa isa ka realistic pagtanaw sa tao na straight line, imaginary line, makita na niya linear perspective na mauna ang pasabot sa artist. What does the artist mean? Makita na niya dito kung sa iyang buot na ipasabot tungod anang illusions sa imong linear perspective. Example given is a one-point perspective. Next is a detection of light. Artists explore the effects of natural light on figures and landscape. Sila si Leonardo da Vinci, sa effect sa natural light sa landscape using light to emphasize form and create moods. So maka-emphasize jud ang lighting so artists emphasizes form to create mood using light. Next is use of space. Artists began to explore more complex spatial arrangement using perspective or shortening to create depth and movement in their works.
As we can see sa picture, it's similar to us to recognize kaya kakakita na to, especially to the Catholic religion. Some as of naanis sa itong balay nga katong nakaprint, di ba? Raphael, the school of Athens, 1510, 1511, comprised a gathering of ancient Greek philosophers and scholars, with Plato in Aristotle of the center symbolizing the foundational principle of idealism and empirism. The question is celebrated for its masterful use of perspective, balance, and harmony, embodying Renaissance ideals of intellectual exploration and the reverence for classical knowledge. The school of Athens is famous dun nga si Raphael ang nag-paint. This paint is represent nga nagtaplok ang mga Greek philosopher and grand architectural settings, and what character which is si Plato ug Aristotle na ay sila different nga symbol. Si Plato kay represent sa empirism and practical wisdom. It illustrates the biblical creation narrative from the book of Genesis, in which God gives life to Adam, the first man. The pursuit is part of a complex iconographic scheme and is chronologically the fourth in the series of panels depicting episodes from Genesis. Ang creation of Adam kay di Michelangelo ang nag-paint. As we can see, kini nga story is gikan sa book of Genesis kung gihimo si Adan ang first woman sa tunga sa paint. We can see also nga makita nato nga naay kamot yabot ni Adan nga halos magdikit ang mga tudlo ni Lord og Adan. It means spark of life o connection sa Dios ug tao. and position sa ilang mga kamot.